welcome to the deep dive. Get ready to shift your perspective on AI a bit today. We're looking at something really quite new.
Yeah, something that could genuinely redefine how businesses operate, like from the ground up.
We're digging into an article here from Techshift, published back on March 30, 2025. The author is Jay Tillotson.
Right. And Jay's got serious credentials, over 20 years in IT strategy, digital transformation. He really gets the practical side of these tech shifts.
So our mission for this deep dive, we want to cut through the buzzwords and really understand what agentic AI actually is. How's it different from, the AI we already talk about? Why is it such a big deal for businesses?
And importantly, what practical steps and maybe pitfalls does the article mention for companies trying to get started with this?
Exactly. We're aiming to pull out the core concepts, maybe some surprising details that show why this isn't just like AI version 3.0.
It's framed as potentially a whole different approach to software, really.
Okay, let's jump in then. The article says right away, this isn't just an upgrade, it calls it a new paradigm. So what is it?
Well, the definition they give is that agentic AI systems are essentially made up of autonomous software agents.
Autonomous agents.
Yeah, think of them less like rigid programs and more like independent entities operating within, say, a digital space.
Okay, independent entities. What can these agents actually do, according to the source?
Right. This is where it gets interesting. They're designed to independently perceive their surroundings, basically, take in data.
Okay.
They can reason process that data, figure things out. They can act, make decisions, carry out tasks. They learn, get better over time.
Learn too.
Yeah, and they collaborate, work together with other agents to tackle bigger business goals. It's all directed towards achieving outcomes.
So how does that stack up against what we know? We've got, traditional AI for narrow tasks, and then generative AI, like the LLMs writing text or making images.
Yeah. The article draws a really key distinction there. Traditional AI, it follows rules, recognizes patterns for specific outcomes, but it's pretty static, right? Limited.
Right.
Generative AI is amazing at creating stuff based on prompts, but it usually needs that human input, that direction. It's not inherently, goal-seeking or built to execute complex actions across different systems on its own.
And agentic AI fills that space.
Exactly. It goes beyond just one task or just generating content. It's designed to handle multi-step problems, execute entire complex workflows autonomously.
With minimal human help, you mean?
Minimal human intervention in the moment, yeah. The difference is that goal-driven autonomy. It doesn't sit waiting for the next command for every little step. It perceives, it reasons, it acts towards its objective.
Huh. So it's less like a specialized tool and more like something with a mission and the smarts to figure out how to do it. What's the tech underneath all this?
The article mentions a few key things.
Right.
Large language models are foundational, giving them language smarts and reasoning ability. Then there's advanced reasoning capabilities, so they can actually plan and problem solve. And distributed architectures, meaning these agents can work across different systems, different platforms. They're not stuck in one box.
Makes sense. And the core characteristics of an agent itself, what defines it?
4 main things are highlighted. First, autonomy. They set objectives, pursue them, make decisions dynamically without needing constant hand-holding.
Okay.
Second, adaptability. They learn from new data, from the context, and adjust their approach. They're not static.
Right.
Third, collaboration. You can have multiple agents coordinating, working together on bigger cross-departmental type challenges. And fourth, continuous improvement. Every single interaction, every task is a chance to learn and get better.
That continuous learning sounds crucial. They evolve.
Okay.
Okay, so that paints a picture of what it is. Let's get to the big one for businesses. Why does this matter so much? What are the core benefits the article talks about?
Yeah, this is where you see the potential disruption. It's not just about automating one small task anymore. It's about end-to-end automation and orchestration.
Orchestration, so managing the whole show.
Exactly. Agentic AI can potentially manage entire business processes from start to finish. It can handle variations, pull data from different systems, even those clunky old legacy ones, adapt if new info comes in, deal with exceptions automatically.
Can you give us an example from the article? Make it concrete.
Sure. Think about a complex supply chain. An agentic AI system could, say, predict demand based on real-time signals, figure out the best shipping routes considering traffic or weather right now, coordinate directly with suppliers, maybe even reroute shipments automatically if there's a disruption, and tell the logistics partners. It manages the whole flow dynamically.
Wow. Okay, that's way beyond just automating data entry or something. What about the customer side? How does it change that experience?
Well, the article makes a pretty bold claim here. It predicts that by 2028, something like 68% of customer service interactions with tech vendors could be handled by agentic AI.
68%. That's huge.
It is, and it implies moving beyond just basic chatbots. We're talking personalized, proactive service, maybe even predictive service, anticipating what a customer needs before they even ask.
So like an online store, not just recommending products well, but maybe automatically starting a return if it sees you bought the wrong size, offering 24/7 support that actually solves complex problems, freeing up humans for the really tricky stuff.
Exactly that. Resolving things end to end, tailoring the interaction based on who you are and what you've done before. Real context awareness.
And inside the business, how does it boost decision-making or efficiency?
Well, by chewing through enormous amounts of real-time data all at once, agentic AI can spot patterns humans might miss, flag up actionable insights, and even execute optimizing decisions way faster than we could.
The finance example in the piece really highlights that speed, doesn't it?
It does. In finance, you could have agents watching transactions for fraud patterns, assessing complex risk profiles instantly, or executing trades autonomously based on market shifts in milliseconds. Humans just can't react that fast or process that much data simultaneously.
Much faster, more accurate responses then.
Potentially, yes.
And presumably, all this leads to being able to scale up operations more easily and maybe cut costs.
Absolutely. That's a major point. Once you have these agentic systems running, they can often scale to handle way more work without needing a proportional increase in staff or massive reprogramming. That naturally drives down cost per task and boosts overall productivity.
It's one thing to talk potential, quite another to see it working. Where does the article say this is actually starting to happen? Any real-world applications mentioned?
Customer service is definitely a big one. The source mentions agents resolving a high percentage of issues, I think it's like up to 80% in some cases, completely, from start to finish, and making the support feel much more personal.
And there was that specific IT operations example. Lenovo, right?
Yes. Lenovo gets a shout out for using agentic AI in their IT ops. They have it working on self-healing infrastructure. The system learns from every glitch or incident, getting better at predicting problems before they happen and preventing them.
That must be invaluable for managing a huge global IT setup.
You bet. Efficiency on that scale is key.
The article also had a table suggesting the application's pretty broad, right? Not just IT and customer service.
Oh yeah, it touches on a bunch of areas. Just to give you a flavor. Logistics, optimizing routes on the fly, HR, automating parts of recruitment or onboarding, cybersecurity, detecting threats, and maybe even responding automatically. Legal and compliance, helping draft standard documents or check against regulations.
So pretty much anywhere you have complex, goal-driven processes that involve data and actions.
That seems to be the idea. If it's multi-step and needs reasoning and action, it's potentially a fit.
Now, this level of autonomy sounds incredibly powerful, but it must come with new risks or things to think about. The article calls preparation a strategic imperative. What does that involve?
Yeah, you can't just switch this on. Preparation is crucial. The absolute foundation is data and infrastructure readiness.
Makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, exactly. Agentic AI needs high-quality, joined-up data to learn from and act on. You need solid infrastructure, think robust systems, maybe cloud-native platforms. You need unified data pipelines so the data flows cleanly. And importantly, API-driven architectures.
APIs.
Yeah.
The standard ways for software to talk to each other.
Precisely. Agents need those connections to operate across different parts of the business. Without good data and the right tech plumbing, it just won't work well.
Okay, data and pipes. What else? With systems acting on their own, you need controls, right?
Yeah.
Governance, security, human oversight.
Absolutely critical. You need governance that's real-time and adaptive. You have to monitor what the agents are doing, make sure they're sticking to the plan, staying compliant, being transparent.
And humans are still in the loop.
The article really stresses this. Human oversight is vital, especially for sensitive decisions, high-stakes areas like finance, healthcare, legal stuff. You need humans involved there.
Non-negotiable.
And tied to that are explainability, being able to understand why an agent did what it did, and auditability, having a clear record of its actions. You need those for trust, for regulations, for fixing things if they go wrong.
It's also a big shift for the people, isn't it? The article mentions change management and culture.
Huge. This isn't just a tech change, it's a cultural one. Your employees need to understand these agents, hopefully trust them, see them as helpers, collaborators, not just threats to their jobs.
So communication is key.
Proactive change management, yes. Investing in training people how to work with these systems, clear communication about what the agents do and don't do, it's all essential to avoid pushback and actually get the value.
And for companies just starting out, given that big tech projects sometimes, fizzle out when trying to scale.
Yeah, that's a real risk. The advice is pretty clear. Start small, scale fast. Pick specific, targeted use cases where you can see clear value, maybe fixing a bottleneck in IT support or improving one part of the customer journey. Build a quick prototype, learn fast, see if it works. Then, once you have proof and tangible benefits, scale it out. Don't try to boil the ocean on day one.
That makes practical sense. Now, we talked about continuous improvement earlier. The article calls feedback loops the engine for that. How does that work?
Right, this is core to how agentic systems operate. They're not just doing tasks, they're constantly learning while doing them. Every interaction, every decision, every outcome gets analyzed.
Analyzed by the agents themselves.
Yes, to refine their strategies, update their decision models, adapt their behavior based on what worked and what didn't, or if the situation changes, they literally get smarter with experience.
So designing those feedback mechanisms is important for making sure they improve effectively.
Absolutely. Things like performance dashboards, ways to get user feedback, real-time monitoring these help ensure the agents are performing well, staying aligned with your goals, and give you the insight to tweak things if needed. That Lenovo IT example, again, it's the system learning from incidents that makes the self-healing truly powerful over time.
Okay, it sounds incredibly promising, really transformative, but there have to be downsides or challenges, right? The article lists some challenges and cautions.
Oh, definitely. It's not simple. Integration complexity is a big one. Trying to connect these smart, autonomous agents into potentially messy landscapes of old legacy systems, systems that maybe don't have good APIs or clean data, that's a major technical hurdle.
And keeping them on track. You mentioned governance.
Right. That leads to the risk of governance gaps. If your oversight isn't strong enough or real-time enough, agents could potentially drift off mission or behave in ways you didn't expect or intend. That's a serious risk.
Security, too, I imagine. More moving parts.
Yeah, for sure. Security risks are amplified. You've got multiple autonomous agents interacting with various systems. That potentially creates a larger surface area for attacks that needs careful securing and monitoring.
What about consistency, if agents are autonomous?
Good point. That's process consistency. If you don't design and manage it carefully, different autonomous agents might end up handling similar tasks in slightly different ways. That could be fine sometimes, but maybe not in highly regulated areas where standardization is key.
And the human factor comes up again as a challenge, too.
Yep, change fatigue. If this feels like just another massive top-down tech change that isn't explained well, employees might resist or just get overwhelmed. You need to manage that human side carefully to get buy-in.
Okay, so bringing this all together, the article really paints agentic AI as a fundamental shift, defined by that goal-driven autonomy, handling complex stuff end-to-end with less direct human control needed moment to moment.
Yeah, and the potential payoff is huge. Genuine end-to-end automation, much more proactive customer experiences, faster, smarter decision-making. But, and it's a big but, the source is clear. Realizing that potential hinges entirely on getting the foundations right.
The data, the infrastructure, the governance.
And the culture. Getting people ready to work alongside these systems, without those pieces, it's likely to stumble.
The article wraps up by saying agentic AI isn't just another tool in the box. It's potentially a new operating model for how businesses actually run.
And that the companies that really win in this next phase will be the ones who figure out how to blend the power and scale of these autonomous agents with, essential human judgment, strategic oversight, and wisdom. It's about synergy, not just replacement.
It leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on, based on everything we've discussed from the source. If agentic AI, magically appeared fully formed in your world tomorrow in your workplace, would the foundations be there? Is your data good enough? Is your governance ready? Are your teams prepared to collaborate? Would it be set up for success, or could those gaps lead to some unexpected, maybe even chaotic results? Something to definitely think about as this technology keeps racing forward.